Good morning. Welcome back to the ALG show. Today, we're going to be talking with Salvador Andres. Before being a DP, he's previously worked on set as a camera assistant as well as a photographer. Today, we're going to be talking about his experiences being Mexican in the film industry, as well as experiences he's had as a cinematographer and prep tech, among many other topics we end up diving into. His enthusiasm for the film industry is infectious, and you just can't help but get excited. And I hope that translates in this conversation as well. Let's get into it.
Oh, like, well, I work at a rental house, so that keeps me busy.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I have um I have a couple projects in post right now, thankfully. It's been a pretty slow year for like everyone, I would assume, you know.
Yeah.
Um haven't been on set as much as an AC. Honestly, this year is kind of surprising. I feel like I've been on set more as a DP than an AC, which is nice and like refreshing
That's good,
to
yeah.
finally embrace, and just sort of make that transition over, even if it is like, little projects with like little to no budget. Just kind of really eager on trying to shoot everything that I can right now. And I know that's like a double edged sword because sometimes you'll run into like some projects that are literally just, well, you said you would shoot anything. And then
Yeah.
when you run into those projects, it's like, damn fool, like I didn't think you guys had it. I didn't think it was like this, man. But you know what? You learn a lot of things, I guess, and like that's kind of how I've been learning everything in a way. Is just with very limited resources at times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but other than that, I mean, how's work been for you? Been
It's
all right?
it's generally been the same thing. It's sort of just,
Yeah,
it's whatever I can get at this point. It's sort of that sort of thing. A lot of unscripted stuff, which I think is it makes sense given the situation.
yeah.
What was like the because you mentioned like you get caught up in that situation of like I'll shoot anything. What was like the last situation where like I really did get caught just like saying I would shoot anything and I really
Uh,
don't feel comfortable doing this.
Well, I mean, it wasn't like terribly bad. It was just like I overloaded myself with physical labor,
Yeah.
and I was like just burnt. The project was dope. It was honestly probably one of my favorite things I've shot this year,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in all honesty. But at the same time, it was like, damn, like I'm not getting paid. Like I'm paying one of the homies like out of pocket to just come and like be a grip for me or whatever, come help out. Um, and it was just like this project we got in post right now. It was the little like no dialogue, sort of some type of like narrative story short film thing. Um, it was just one of the homies, he wanted to like take a shot more at like directing some things. And so I was like, hell yeah, I'm down to shoot it. And it was basically like a 10-hour day, but man, I just kind of messed myself up. The lens alone was probably like 25 pounds, and I
Nice.
had it on a Mira with a with a
Nice.
2560 Mitchell head
Nice.
and carbon fiber sticks. And I did have a homie who was gonna come AC for me that day. Turns out he ended up getting a job that was paid. I couldn't pay him, so I was like, okay, I understand that, and like totally go make your money. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like I'll figure it out because I do have some AC experience. I
Yeah.
have a decent amount, but dude, I was not ready for like the physical workforce, and it was like an overnight. So we started. Call time was like 6 or 7 p.m., which was another interesting topic.
Yeah.
Um, but man, I just really overloaded myself that day physically. Um, and like I had other hands, like you can't like explain certain things that you need done with a camera with a build or to move certain things to like just anybody, you need like an AC to
Yeah.
tell certain things to. Like, oh, can you like switch filters for me? Like, can you like help me recalibrate this heated motor or whatever? Like, you
Yeah.
just need someone who can like kind of think for you in some sentences. Like, I mean, in some instances, like, um, you need them to really come. Like, a good first AC is just like it's so valuable, bro. You can't put a price on them. Like, seriously, like that will make your life so much easier just because you can then, from what I've noticed again, is just you could really just focus on shooting. Like, you don't gotta be worrying about, oh my god, like where did this cable go, or like where where did this, like, even like something scary like a filter, like why don't we have this right now? Like, I kind of ran into those things myself,
Yeah.
and it's not like I haven't shot anything before, but I did have like a good amount of gear, which was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm also a prep tech, so like I'm pretty on top of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, nothing went missing, nothing went broke. Like, it was, I did a decent job of handling it all myself. But man, I was just so tired.
Yeah.
Like, at like we probably wrapped at like 3:30 in the morning. Got
Damn.
home at like 4.
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then went right to work at the rental house the next day, like same day. I didn't work too much, but
No,
you know,
still, it was like the fact that you had to wake up early the next day. It wasn't helpful. It didn't help.
no, 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 not at
Yeah,
all.
yeah. So
Um,
so you AC as well, or you've previously AC'd. You recently uh camera assisted on a short film. I don't know how much you can talk about it because I don't, I believe it's not um publicly released, but it's called it was a film that you did called
uh,
Shut Up and Fish. You want to talk about that? What was that like?
uh,
Like just being on a boat. Like for
man,
me, I feel like I'd get seasick so easily, and having to look at like the monitor, I feel like I'd get so nauseous
uh,
so quickly.
dog, that was like that was probably the best shoot I've ever been on as a as an AC. Period.
Yeah,
Um, well, we could talk about it. It's not released publicly like that. I think they're doing like some festival runs, which is usually how the process goes or whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but to me, that like spoke volumes to me. Like, that really motivated me and impacted me, and like not only to just be like, man, like I really want to shoot stuff, but like that shit made me really like proud and happy of like where I come from and who I am as a person and like my background and all that stuff. And I feel like being that basically this kind of entails like a whole story of like basically how Chicanos are now, in a sense, versus I think there was like this whole trope of like, especially like, we're Mexican and all that stuff. Like, I think our biggest kinds of representation, or what people think as far as Latinos go
Yeah.
in most movies, is like either like cholo gangbanger, or like, like the women is like some like sex symbol, like, or whatever, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's like stereotypes for both men and women in the Latino community as far as like filmmaking goes. And this was like a really nice refresher, just because it's very much based on basically just fools, just Edgar fools. Like, that's what it was based on. Like fools gonna, like, it was honestly, I not gonna lie, I shed a tear when we had the martini shot, when I slated that, because I was just like, wow, this was just incredible. Basically, it's just fools that go fishing, like Edgar fools that just go fishing. And it's a short film, very well done. Um, if you don't know already, it's a black and white piece, so it's like a vignette, and they shot it in 4:3 and black and white. And these two directors have like, they're also from LA, so it was very nice to like finally meet people who are at like a key creative position, that are that are from LA, that are, they know how LA works, they know the people in LA. They're not transplants from like, I don't know, the middle of the country. So it was
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
to
yeah.
it was nice to finally work on something that actually meant something to me. And as far as like, being an AC goes, 99.99% of the time I'm there to just make money.
Yeah.
Like very few times do I like honestly kind of enjoy what we're shooting. I think a lot of people do feel that way. Like, oh, it is just money at some point when you're kind of like working these like whenever you're not like the head of a department in a way, for
Yeah.
the most part. I would figure like that's kind of been my general thing with being an AC. It's like, yeah, it's cool to like be here and stuff, but like when I had been on that 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 project, I had no idea at all. I had not a clue what we were shooting. A friend of mine, Hannah Lee, she's a excellent first AC. She hit me up and she was like, "Hey, like I need a second AC. It's these days. We're also traveling up to like Big Bear or something, like the lake." And I'm like, "Oh, sick. Okay, cool. Like I'm down." So I remember I show up to set the first day. We got the camera car going. We built the camera or whatever. She like prepped it herself, and I'm just kind of walking around like um, trying to find a power source to plug in and charge batteries. And I guess I walked into what we were setting up for our first shot, and I look around and I'm like, what? Like this is not what I'm used to. Who are these like little Edgar fools just like hanging out and like shadow boxing each other in the middle of this location? Like
Yeah.
who what is this? Like what the hell is going on? Like I've never seen this. Are these kids just kicking in here and they're gonna leave? Or is this like a OGZ video? Like what is going on, bro? Like
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
I was I was super confused. And then it all hit me when we were actually setting up and lighting for the shot, and I was getting the slate ready and all that, and I was like, oh my god, we're shooting Edgars. Like I said that out loud, and bro, I had never had like the biggest. I was so happy, bro. I remember I was telling Hannah, I'm like, how huge, and Hannah's she's the first AC on that job.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's not from Los Angeles, so she obviously didn't know what Edgars were. I did, and I was just like, Hannah, you have no idea how big this is. Like this is huge. This is magnificent. Like especially being like the fact that I think it's just so funny because like I think um I think it was such like to me it was like wow, someone actually like sees these people. I guess like it gives them like that sense of visibility, like
Yeah.
especially as being Latinos. Like there's so many kinds of us. Like there's not just one sort of like Latino, I
Yeah.
guess. And then being able to like properly capture it and make some dope art out of it, like and honestly probably tell a story way better than I've seen in a lot of like uh Chicano movies sometimes. Like again, like the idea is perpetuated that like a lot of it is like cholos and gangbangers and stuff. And like, while that is somewhat of a reality, like it is a reality, I think that doing that so consistently kind of put a lot of Latinos in a box as far as like, you know, filmmaking goes. And just seeing that, it's like such a big refresher to be like, ah man, like they got it, like they got it right. You know what I mean? Like they did everything good. Like, the I saw the premiere and it was great. It was a great movie.
Yeah.
Very exciting to see. Very very refreshing. You know what I mean? It's not something that you would ever think of really seeing. Um, and they really nailed it. Um, Shout out to Klika. They directed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Shout out to them. They're really pushing it for the culture. So it's really a beautiful thing to see, in all honesty, and very inspiring and motivating to myself, but also a lot of other folks that have been like sort of shied away or been out in the shadows as far as like I don't know the representation and whatnot.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, bro. Like I feel like we get put in a box of like you're supposed to be this way. Why are you
Uh huh.
this type of person? Like especially like in our industry, bro. Like there's not a lot
Yeah.
of us. We gotta
No, there's not fool.
every time I meet someone on set who's Mexican, I'm like I hold them close because it's like there's only
Mm-hmm.
so many of us, and I don't wanna I want to elevate them and put them in an opportunity if there's the chance to do that.
Mm,
You know, because
yeah.
there's so many of us, bro. I think maybe I could count on like
Exactly.
one hand the amount of
Hey,
people who are Mexican that are in this industry, let alone camera department. You know what I mean?
dude,
Like
it's
there's not a lot of us. I hold on to every one of us so dearly.
bro. I hold on to them closer too when I find out that they're Mexican and from LA,
Yeah.
making movies in LA. So it's like, wow, like that's you're one of me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like very. It's so weird being in LA and meeting people in your respective job field like that are
Right?
from LA and being like, oh my god, that's rare. Like
Yeah.
that's super rare. Like why is this? Why is it such a rarity? You know what I mean? And sometimes I feel like that kind of does. Um, I don't want to say bother me, but it does kind of like, damn, like where's everybody at? Like you know what I mean? Like, and I know there's a lot of layers that go into it.
Yeah.
You know, I think one thing for sure is like accessibility, um, which is it's a difficult thing to like try and figure out. You know what I mean? Like as far as like being able to to shoot your own stuff and what have you, but also just kind of knowing that like that this is a job.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of like especially like Latinos, like most of my Latino friends are not filmmakers. You know what I
Same.
mean? Like they're really not, like they're not, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think when I told my parents that this is what I wanted to do, I wanted to be a DP. First of all, they're like, "What's a DP?" And I was like, "Damn, I don't even know." No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But no, like I had to explain to them what it was that I was trying to do, and they were never really like. I guess they were kind of just at some point they were like, "Damn, like, okay, do you have to go to school for that?" It kind of seems like you're something that you have to go to school for, and I was like, "No, like, you know, you just got to work." And for a while, I felt like I was kind of like trying to convince myself that this is a legitimate way to make money in a way and that I could do it. And so it was like a little bit tough to explain to like, like my parents that are, they're like born and raised in Mexico and they came over here. My sisters, they went to college, they got their masters. Like they, like, that's kind of like the way, like when you come here, like sort of for most immigrants is like you come here and you like sort of set a foundation for your kids to kind of try and follow so they could like surpass you
Yeah.
or whatnot. And so like when I told my dad I wanted to be in the film industry, like what? Like he had no idea like that he it's not a sustainable future or whatever, you know what I mean? And like it was definitely very interesting. I don't know how I got here to this topic, but
Yeah.
um no,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I had like a very similar experience, you know. I never um for me I never picked up like cinematography like as a kid. It wasn't until like maybe high school where I like figured this sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing out, and even, you know, like we have this expectation of like, okay, this is kind of like a hobby. You know, I
Yeah.
don't know how there was always this question of is there even like a career path for this, or is this just like for the I always saw it as like this is for people who are like I guess nepotism in a way where it's like you have to be really deep
Yeah.
rooted in that way in order to have success. But I found success kind of in my own little pockets, and you know, and it's also like a like what you're saying. It's like a really difficult conversation to explain to, like, you know, the folks at home that like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I wanna do this thing, but it's like I don't really, you know what I mean? Like it's not because you're not doing like the typical like contractor thing. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, wait, like what is this thing you're trying to do? And it's such a um and I get it in some sense because, you know, you want your kid to like succeed. You don't want him to like fall on his face and like
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like
Right. 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 Right.
I get the intention of like I want my kid to be good. I don't want him to like
Mm-hmm.
go hungry. I don't want him to worry financially. Uh
Oh, 100%.
you know, like I get that 100%, but it's also um you know, I sort of picked it up in high school, and from there I started shooting like kind of smaller things, and then it pivoted into
Mm-hmm.
things that led to like much larger work. Like I think recently, because it was always, at least for my family, it was always like it was very much like a question. Even while I was getting paid, it was always like, okay, like, like, when's he gonna fall, sort of thing. Not that they were like wanting me to fall,
Yeah.
but it's like, you know, what is this? Like, when is this end? And then I did a video. It wasn't until I did a music video, maybe like now it's like a year and a half ago, for Los Tucanes,
Mm-hmm.
Los Tucanes de Tijuana.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I did a music
yeah.
video for them, and then when
Shout
it
out to
came,
the shout out to Tucanes. I'm sorry,
no,
my
they're
bad. I have
so
to give a shout out.
no, no, no,
They're
they're
greatest. My parents love them.
nah,
They've seen them like 2, 3 times in concert.
yeah, they're super. They were super nice, and I
You're
couldn't
a
have
legend for that.
I couldn't have had a better shooting experience with them. Um, and I
That's
remember
sick.
that production. It was like I think the shoot day was on a Saturday, and it was an overnight, so it was like from 6 p.m. to
Mm.
3 a.m. Um, and I got the call on a Thursday, like, yeah, like from a director homie of mine, Domingo Rivera. I love that guy.
Mm.
So he texted me on like a Thursday night. It was like 6 or 7, and he's like, "Yo, you free? You free Saturday to shoot a video?" I was like, "Let's do it." And he's like, "Good, it's
Mm.
for Los Tucanes." He didn't tell me after. Um, he didn't tell me till after I had already like agreed to the shoot. He's like, "Okay, good, it's for Los Tucanes de Tijuana." I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
I'm terrified right now.
Oh
Like,
shit.
I don't want to fuck this up, because it's like, again, what you're saying. It's like
Yeah.
it's the culture, you know. I want to
Oh
get I
yeah.
want to get it right. I wanted to hire like some good people. I got my gaffer
Mm.
Ifu on that job. I got a really solid Steadicam op, Pasha.
Mm.
Like I love my whole team that was on it. And so, but yeah, it wasn't until that video came out where it was like validated that like this is a career that you can take.
Yeah,
Like,
bro. For me, I had a similar experience like this year.
yeah,
Um, kind like, bro, I was an AC for basically this little shoot involving, bro, like Yanni. I was on a fuck, obviously, you know, she wasn't there, but
yeah,
her
yeah,
her family was there, and it was circulated around them. And that, like, I told my mom that, bro, and she lost her. She was like, "No way, like this and that," and like she told my dad too. Like, she went running to tell him. I'm like, chill. I'm not even like the DP on this. I mean, they didn't really know what my position was in general.
It
I
wasn't
kind of try
about
to tell
that.
them.
It wasn't
It
about that.
wasn't, no, no, but like that's when I got like the validity card like given to me, like, okay, like you make some money off this, and it was an excellent job. Worked with, I was the second AC for that. Who's the first? Oh, Eduardo. Shout out to Eduardo. And then DP was Natalia. Shout out to her as well. She killed it. We all killed it. It was a very fun project, honestly, and like the fact that we were like the three of us, the whole camera department was Mexican. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was magnificent. Honestly, like, we put a little Mexican flag patch on the side of the Alexa 35, man.
yeah, hell yeah,
You
yeah.
have
You
to,
have
bro.
to.
Like, you have to, bro.
You have to.
And but no, it was a really smooth shoot. Like, and the fact that like my parents saw that and they were like, "Oh, you for real, huh?" So I was like, "Yep, it's really a job.
Yep.
It's really a job. It was really a job." So,
Yeah.
but yeah, man. I mean, I'm trying to. I don't know. I'm trying to get more of those little projects to like show the parents and be like, "It's okay. Everything's okay. I got it. I got it. We're all right. We're gonna be
Yeah.
fine. You don't
Yeah.
really need to go to college to do this." Like,
Yeah. No, that's how I feel, and I think it's always like a scary thing, especially if you're gonna tell them like, "Hey, bro, I'm not gonna. I don't need to pursue school for this. Like, let me get all
mm-hmm,
my energy, and let me focus on this." That's a really difficult
mm,
conversation, because education is such a big thing. And I agree. I'm very much like, I value education, but I think now, I think the medium has sort of become so readily, um, I don't want to say readily accessible, but like education has gotten a lot easier because of certain resources. You know what I mean? Like YouTube University.
Mm,
I swear by YouTube University. If I'm having a problem with
me
like
too.
some random piece of gear, or if like, when I bought my red, I didn't know how to use it too much. It was sort of just like, all right, I'm gonna go to YouTube and I'm gonna figure out properly how to fully use this thing, because like, you know what I mean. And like, if YouTube University wasn't there, like, I don't know what I'd do. But yeah, education is so easy to kind of get resources for just figuring out certain things. Or if you have a question about something, like, it's a lot easier to learn now.
Hmm.
And I think, especially like in Hispanic families, it's always like, you know college was the only way to get an education, just generally.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I think, we're also able to learn from like other people around us. I know when I used to camera assist, I would always ask, like, not in like a mentor sense, but like I'd always like pick the brain
Yeah.
of like the DP and say like, "Yo, what is this thing that you're working on?" Like, he was explaining to me certain things on the camera that I didn't understand, and I was learning in that way. I'd ask like, just key grips, what they're doing. Like, I was very much just like wanting to understand um, what it is that everybody does on set. Because for me, if I'm gonna be in
Right.
a position like a DP position, I want to understand fully what it is that the work encompasses. I don't want to ask somebody, to do
Hmm.
something ridiculous and not understand that, like, logistically that's kind of impossible. Like, I don't want to be
Hmm.
ignorant to what it is that other people can do, and more importantly, what they shouldn't do, especially if it's like a safety thing. Like, but yeah, I think in terms of like education, like, it just sort of came with time, instead of just like going to
Seriously.
school and just like, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm always learning. I'm always, keeping up with sort of the new like new cameras and stuff, and like sort of what's going on in like American cinematography. I got that subscription. Like, you work at a rental house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a prep tech. Are you full time, or are you part
I
time?
am. I am. I am full time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just because at a rental house, there's always that expectation that you're there full time. That's kind of like just the standard with being like working at any prep tech or any rental house. You're there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, or whatever the hours of operation are. Typically, it's those hours. Um, but they're yeah, like I'm a prep tech there. I'm full time. The wonderful thing about my rental house that I'm at is that they they're flexible with me, and they're able to like let me take days off to go shoot a project, or like, whatever. Like if I'm even gonna AC, like I need the extra money, they're like cool with me taking a day off or whatever. Like, and they're really like supportive of you know doing like stuff that's external from the rental house, which is like a really really like nice thing that I honestly genuinely appreciate. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's
um,
cool to have that support from those people, and
definitely.
even I think for a rental house generally, just like building that relationship with them, especially,
Hmm.
it's that's super nice that you have that sort of relationship with them. What sort of because we're talking about like education and stuff. What sort
Yeah.
of thing have you learned from like being a prep tech versus like having to do stuff on the field?
Um. Well, if I'm being honest, I've worked at two rental houses. And the first one, they were up and coming, and they're doing very well now. Um, I actually ended up getting a job with them. They're really close to my house. Shout out to them. Great group of guys. Um, but I had kind of like no experience at all with any kind of camera. So my whole thing, whatever. Like, let me break it down for you, I guess. Um, I just started PAing in the summer of 2021, but before then, I had actually hit up Daniel Streety, the Daniel Streety, on Instagram, probably during COVID. He was shooting a short film, and I'm like, yo, I'm down to help out. He's like, yeah, bro, like for sure. And I'm like, I don't have any experience at all, honestly. And he's like, okay, well, we need you to be a grip. And I was like, I don't even know what a grip is. So I do my research. I try and do my homework or whatever before showing up on set and like kind of trying to know what to do. Like just reading, right? Because I hadn't touched a C stand. I hadn't moved a sandbag anywhere, whatever. I show up on set on a short film and I'm a grip and I'm working with the gaffer and he hated me. He hated me because I didn't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
And now he's one of my best friends. Shout out to Lawrence.
I love Lawrence.
Shout out to Lawrence. That's my king forever. Um, anyways, I show up and I'm not knowing how to do anything, and that's kind of when I realized, like, bro, I can't just you can't just read about this stuff and like study it in school. Like, it's things that you gotta like really apply, like in the field, like I didn't know how to even open a C stand. I had no idea. Like I don't know how the leg, like you twist the thing and like why aren't they locking? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
like why do they keep
yeah,
spinning? Why do the legs keep spinning? I
yeah,
didn't know. Like that was my first time setting up like a Dana dolly. Had no clue how to do that either. They were referring to things that I had no idea what they meant. I was like, why don't you guys just like speak regular English? Like what's up with all this slang? What the hell? Like why'd you guys complicate it so much? And
yeah,
I just was like, damn. But I think the shoot was probably like 3 days, 4 days long. And I had remembered I had seen Streety, he was a DP, and he had two ACs. He had the homegirls Makaria and Bella. And just seeing how the three of them like work together. Obviously, I knew I wanted to like be in camera because for the past 7, 8 years before that, I had been into photography. And that's kind of how I started. I picked up like a little DSLR when I was like, I don't know, 14, just started shooting the homies or whatever. Eventually just started shooting like 35 millimeter film and then eventually like medium format. And then I jumped into like being a key grip for a short film.
yeah,
And then so I was like, yeah, you know what? This isn't what I want to do. I don't want to touch these stands and whatnot. This seems really hard. I'm
yeah,
like, I'm not strong. I'm not strong enough for this.
yeah,
Whatever. I was like, I want to be right there. Like, I want to be like, what is that? What is that monitor that you have hooked up? Like, why is that? Why is that lens magically spinning with a little motor? Like, what is that Teradek thing? Like, what is all that? Like, I was so fascinated by all the gear and just seeing how like cohesively the three of them like worked together.
yeah,
And it was a dope shoot. But what really like resonated with me was like all these people kind of knew each other, and now I know all of them, right? But
yeah,
all of them kind of knew each other in some type of way, and they were just like kicking it, like having fun on set, like. And that's when I realized, like, damn, this shit is like, this is for real. Like, this is something that people do. This is something that, whatever, like, it's cool. And so eventually after that, I started, kind of getting more submersed into the film industry and kind of trying to figure out whatever I needed to do. And I started to PA a lot more. Eventually, I was asked as a PA to go pick up some lenses from a rental house. Um, and I went to the rental house and I started talking to the dude at the front desk. He was a prep tech there. And then I just honestly asked, I was like, hey, you guys hiring? And he was like, yeah, I think maybe, let me go ask. And then I had literally just filled out an application there, and I was like, "This is perfect. Like, I hope I get this job driver." And like, I started touching more cameras and stuff, and they were also like really supportive. So I learned all my technical stuff from there, like how to build a camera, because I was so like I didn't really think that being a DP was like an option for me at the time. I guess maybe I just didn't have that much confidence in like what I was doing. So I was like, okay, maybe like being a union second AC would be cool or whatever. So I'll just learn all the technical sides of it. And I'm scared to shoot because I don't know how to shoot a video.
yeah,
Because I'm not like I never really tried with videos. I never did anything like that. Um, so I started working at that rental house for a couple months. Eventually, I learned pretty much what I felt like was everything that I needed to, um, which was a hefty amount. Just being around gear all the time and having people like explain stuff to you, and like you're really learning. And like it's honestly that was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life to like work at a rental house, because I honestly had no clue how you start on this. And being a PA, like I was like, shout out to the PAs, PA Nation forever. But I cannot, like I just can't, like I couldn't at some point because I was PAing so much, it was making me sick. And I was like, dude, like I need more. Like I want more. So I started looking at obviously the rental house I got there, and then I was like, you know what? I think I could AC now. Like, I think I have enough contacts or whatever. Maybe not the most, but I have some stuff lined up. And so I pretty much was freelance AC for all of like last year, pretty much. And then I actually started shooting some stuff over the summer with a Komodo, just like little like fashion things here and there. And it was nice to finally get like hands on with the camera and start just kind of thinking of it like target practice, kind of just shooting stuff and just kind of figuring out like what I like to see, how I like things to be shot.
Yeah.
And this was everything that I did without any kind of lighting. Like this was just like running gun stuff. It's like random, really random things. I never really got paid for any of it. But you know what? I didn't even care. I just wanted to shoot stuff, and like that was totally fine with me. And right now, like I'm still kind of in the same boat. But now, since I've gotten a job at this rental house, you have certain, let's say, you unlock certain things when you work at a rental house,
Yeah.
and one of those things is access to gear. And obviously, once you demonstrate that you're a trustworthy person, you know how to use this gear, you know how to take care of it, and like whatnot. Um, they'll most rental houses will let you take stuff out for a discount or whatever they choose to do. Sometimes you might get luckier, you might get it for free, who knows? Um, but like I feel like that is the most optimal route for myself. Like just having access to that and always being sort of like, you're always pulling gear out around the house. You're checking stuff in. You're looking at barcodes. You're trying to like check gear for little like like things that could be like messed up from the last job that it came on, and that sort of just trains your mind and your eye to like be comfortable with working with this gear. And so it's like just you're just kind of sharpening you know the knives that you got or whatever, if you want to look at it that way. Like super, like I was excited to go to work every single day and like, oh my god, like I get to touch this camera, knowing how things could work like ergonomically, and like obviously learning the technical aspect of like what everything does. um it was definitely like a huge plus
Yeah.
working there, and like that
Yeah. I'm
sort of just
definitely.
kind of taught me
Yeah. No, I'm definitely like jealous of you for
a
having
lot.
done the rental house thing, because I think, at least for me, when you start getting into these sort of higher end cameras, like I was definitely intimidated because I didn't have this
Oh, for
really
sure.
any opportunity to touch an Alexa prior. I remember the first time I worked with a mini was actually with Daniel Sturdy, as we mentioned earlier. Um,
Uh,
we didn't have a prep day, just purely due to budget. So I had to figure out how to use this camera like a couple days before. I was lucky. God bless Ari for having the resources online. And so I was able to just figure out quickly how to, like, okay, cool, how do I format this? How do I set, my
mhm.
ISO, my whatever it is. If I didn't have that, I don't think I would have been nearly as confident to sort of work with a camera of that caliber. Like I was
Mhm.
definitely intimidated, and I think um, it's incredibly valuable. Like for you, you're just like, oh, it's another Tuesday.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, like it's like, oh,
you know,
it's whatever. I see this thing
yeah.
every day. But
It
yeah,
it for me. I mean, it definitely like, especially now. I think the biggest change is working at this rental house. I'm obviously at a different point in my life and like my career or whatever.
yeah,
But I realized it definitely kind of clicked for me when I was like, damn, like I know like I'm basically numb to seeing all this like cool and expensive gear. But I think it's because I'm not shooting with it. I'm not using it for what it's made for.
hmm,
You know what I mean? And just kind of like seeing myself like sort of like be like a robot and just kind of check these like things out on the scanner, on the barcode scanner, and like check them back in and like whatever, look at them, inspect them, try to get like some first eyes look. Like to me, I was kind of like starting to get sad. Like I was like, damn, like these poor little babies, like they don't, like I want to shoot with them. You know what I mean? Like it just kind of made me like be like, wow. I don't know. Like that to me, it definitely went from more so of like a, I want to learn like all this technical stuff about this camera and like how to build it up and whatever. Because like at some point that was super fascinating to me, and then I ended up doing it a bunch, obviously from an AC perspective and like a prep tech standpoint. But then I was like, man, like I really just want to create with these things. Like these things are such powerful tools. Like honestly, some of them the most powerful tools, and like I just have them here, and I'm just kind of um just seeing them as like another task in my workday. Like not that big of a deal. Just gotta get it by or whatever. You know what I mean? And I think kind of having that sort of like little epiphany of like I really want to use these tools that I'm basically servicing and like checking up on and like sending out to like another job or another shoot. I was kind of like greedy about it. I was like, this is my turn. Like I want to
Yeah.
play with you now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what I ended up doing. And I think that's one of the best things I could have done for the the very young seeds of my career. You know,
Yeah.
can't speak too much about it just because I'm just sort of still starting out in all honesty, and I think I think it's a confusing thing to kind of sort of try and navigate, especially when you don't like any sort of like inclination to be a part of the camera department. It doesn't matter if you want a DP or like operator or be an AC or whatever. Like I think one of the best things you could do, and I was even told this by somebody who worked at Panavision for 8 years, is you don't need school. You just go to a rental house, you learn everything that you got to do, you make connections there, try and play with some of the gear, and then once you're in a better position, you'll make the decision if you want to, if you think you can fully maintain and support yourself just by whatever position you've now come across in your life, then, you did that and now you don't have debt, like school debt.
Yeah.
When someone told me that, I was like, damn, like that's super real. Like that makes a lot of sense. I don't like school. I'm
Yeah.
a very hands-on person.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I think that's the like
I
the
don't like sitting
best.
down.
That's like the best way to learn anything. I think,
Yeah.
I hate to quote Oppenheimer, but it's like you only know so much like on theory alone. Like you gotta really
Yeah.
figure it out. And like when I started to be more freelance, it was definitely in my case I had gone to college for a little bit, and it was
Yeah.
really difficult to sort of make that jump and to feel confident in that jump. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the only time I considered that jump more was when I was started to DP more. When I was camera
Mm-hmm.
assisting, I was like, oh, okay, I could still take a couple of jobs and like manage school. But the moment like DP jobs started to pick up more, it was sort of a big question of like, okay, am I even? It's sort of like a level of imposter syndrome where it's like, am I even capable of like doing this full time and to get enough work to pay for what I need to, or just being uh just feeling confident in what I know I can do. That was
Yeah.
such like a huge thing, and imposter syndrome hits hard, bro. Like,
Oh,
and
dude.
definitely I still feel that way sometimes with larger jobs, but I think the biggest sentiment has always been like, bro, you've done it before. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
your first time on set. It just happens to be that there's a couple more people and there's a couple bigger things that maybe you haven't managed
Yeah. And now
before. And
your reputation's at risk a little bit
oh
here. So
yeah, 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 a little bit, yeah, yeah, yeah.
a little bit. Yeah. Just a
just
little bit.
just a little bit, yeah, yeah. But yeah, basically, yeah. There's a that sort of fear of like not knowing if this is like the right thing, and just I don't know, how do you manage like fear and like that sort of risk management whenever you're like wanting to jump into like the next thing, because it feels like
Um,
you just like hit the ground running and maybe there's something that I'm not seeing.
like I think of it as like, yeah, like sure, like things can be scary. You can mess up or whatever, but like at the end of the day, like I don't know. I feel like if I mess up or do something, like it's for a reason. I'm supposed to learn from it. You know what I mean? So you gotta like, um, I guess sort of just take them as they come, and like if you take some L's, like you're gonna take some L's if you mess up on a big job. Which honestly, you also gotta think of it like I'm not getting called for a big job for no reason. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason that I'm getting called for this because I'm good at what I do, or like somebody trusts me with something. So I refuse to like try and let people believe in me more than I believe in myself. You know what I mean?
Mm.
If that makes sense. Kind of because like all that doesn't mean if I don't believe in myself. If I can't actually apply it. Like, and I've been in those situations too where it's like you believe in someone more than they believe in themselves, and it sucks because it's like you can only, what is it saying, like you bring a horse to water but you can't make them drink it.
Yeah.
And it's the same, like I don't like being like that because especially it's like not necessarily that it's like wasted potential, but it's like wasted energy when somebody has more faith in you than you do with yourself. And it's like, well, what's all that for? You know what I mean? So I try not to get super nervous about things. I mean, it always happens.
Yeah.
You're gonna get nervous no matter what. But also, like, I feel like I've kind of came from. I played baseball for like 13, 14 years. So I feel like I've always been around like some kind of like stressful, like high pressure situation because baseball is kind of a game of that, like ninth inning, walk off, like you could win the game or you could lose the game. And I was a pitcher too sometimes. So like I've lost games and I've won games in very stressful situations. So I feel like I've kind of always been someone that could kind of keep their cool and be calm in such a way.
Yeah.
Um, and so some of that fear has kind of been like deleted from my life when I get on set. And like being an AC, like you have to sometimes like rush, like there's a producer yelling like how much more time do you guys need, and like the goddamn like nucleus motor isn't working for some reason, so you got to swap it out or you got to like rebuild it or like whatever the case may be. Maybe there's an error on the camera and you got to like scramble to try and fix it. And but you got to do all that with people yelling at you and people looking at you, and you're just like you got to tune out everybody. Like nobody else matters in that moment except getting what you got to do done. And especially being on set, like, and I've learned that as like trying to be a DP, like everything else kind of gets shut out from me in a way. Like I don't think about anything else other than like, okay, I have this plan for the most part. I think I've planned enough. I think I've prepared enough. If I haven't, then it'll show. But also, like, I feel like I'm good at being resourceful in some of those moments and kind of just like, and especially being an AC, like coming up that way, it's like you find little quick fixes and like you're supposed to be able to like kind of be uh able to think of things on the fly, like be sort of quick with it. So like from a technical aspect, I'm sort of, I don't know, like I don't get super, um fearful at times. Definitely, I think in the future, I'm blessed with the opportunities that I desire and whatnot, then you're for sure. Like I can't deny that I'd probably be like nervous, which I,
Yeah.
I still think I deal with, but like you just gotta force yourself to get over that in a way and like think happy thoughts. You're always happy thoughts, always PMA, always positive mental
PMA.
attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you always gotta think about that the best that you can. Um and so I don't know. How do you kind of think about that?
I think it's something that I'm still partially figuring out in some sense. I think, definitely there's a lot of moments where I'm like, am I even like capable of this job? But, there's
Yeah.
no, I think in some sense, there's no opportunity to really think in that way
Mm-hmm.
because usually the job is in a couple of days and, my mind's kind of running rampant thinking about, oh, I got to make sure like the camera package is set. I got to make sure I talk to the gaffer about this thing, like all those sorts of little things. And I think, um, it doesn't help. It definitely there's been productions where I get caught in that school of thought, and I just get really anxious and
Mm-hmm.
like just worried about like, can I even do this? Am I even doing this right? Am I overthinking in this area? Am I not thinking enough in this area? So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still something I'm figuring out, but I think something that's really worked for me and that's something that's been positive for me is just stepping back from a project for a second. Like if,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm doing a bunch of pre-production stuff and like I got to take a bunch of calls, or if I got to um, draft up something on like my laptop or something, I give myself like at least 30 minutes or an hour if it feels like that much, just to like step away and kind of like refresh for a second. Because I think by getting
Yeah.
too caught up in it, you're gonna slip and fall hard. And I think by giving myself a break, it allows me to kind of sit, just chill for a sec, assess the situation, and then go back into it like sharper than I did
Mm-hmm.
before. And I
Mm-hmm.
think giving yourself that moment to just step back is really, or it's been really helpful for me, just to kind of assess even like what I'm thinking of, because there's definitely like certain things that I might be overthinking that's like not even worth overthinking. Like
Mm-hmm.
I might be obsessing about some specific accessory that we need for the camera package, but it was like, nah, the second AC had it. Like, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like that sort of thing, where and it gives me the opportunity to reassess what priorities need to happen, and what it is that I really need to take out, and sort of deliberate with people and sort of deliberate with people certain things. Like I really value my team for that reason, because I can deliberate certain ideas, or I can uh, fully kind of occupy less of my brain with like the camera package, and I can go to the gaffer and sort of talk to him through maybe a really complicated idea that we're thinking of in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think delegating and just like taking a step to sort of reassess has sort of been really helpful for me. But sometimes it's difficult to just sort of like prioritize your mental health in certain moments, and it's something and I'm actively figuring out. And I'm wondering, since we're on that vein of thought, like, what do you, because I think a lot of us as like creative people, we sort of we like to be active in this field, in the sense of like actively creating. What
Mm-hmm.
is something that you find that's like helpful to sort of um like if there's a lot of downtime, what's something that you do that's sort of productive to your mental health and sort of like keeps you sane, especially now
Damn.
when the work is slow, like what is something that you do? uh
Well, you know what? Even like so so what I do when I'm not shooting is I'm working at the rental.
right, yeah, I guess,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, but like when I was, I guess like full time freelance or whatever, and I had that downtime, I wasn't really in the mind of like, okay, now I want to like be a DP for real. Like I was sort of just kind of like playing around with things, but I sort of I would do like a couple things. Obviously, exercise. Like I'd go to the gym a lot more and whatnot, and like go skate and all that stuff and whatever. But I think a lot of it was like sort of um, I don't know. Like I would try to do things that would be not film related at all. Like I still want to do that. Like I still want to do things like because to me, I guess like the best thing that I can do for myself is not to get too attached to any project,
Hmm.
even stuff that I create. Um, and I feel like I'm not very prideful when it comes to like collaborating on things because especially as like a DP or whatever, like I feel like that's sort of the time where you should not be attached to the day, to the gear, to the project, to anything like that. Because at the end of the day, you're basically really just visually um, translating something.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? For somebody, for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So I think being able to just sort of separate yourself entirely from the world of filmmaking and just realize at the end of the day, like, yes, like I have been I guess blessed with the creative things that I think and whatnot, and the positions that I'm in and the opportunities, but I'm still a human being. Like you got to remember that yourself. Like you know, you meet a lot of people who get super caught up in their work life, and like you hang out with them outside of work, and all they talk about is work. Namely,
Mm-hmm.
people in the film industry, and it's like,
Yeah.
damn, dude, like we're at a bar. Like I don't want to talk about gear right now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
bro,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about, you know what I mean? And it's not a bad thing. I don't get annoyed by it really, but I'm kind of like, damn, like I don't really want to just talk about gear. Like I want to talk about like who you are as a person, or like, you know, how whatever, like how you're doing mentally, man. I don't know, like something different. Like, and just I feel like being able to be detached from the work. They go such a long um but I think as well, like if you definitely want to succeed in this film industry and you want to like obviously advance and whatnot, you should have conversations about gear, about movies, about things that you've seen, about lighting. You and I talk back and forth all freaking day about, about stuff like that,
Yeah.
and it's
Definitely.
great. But we also talk about other shit too, because it's like there's a time and place for that. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think like I would say that it seems like we both understand that like yeah, like this thing that we do, it's great and like we have it in common and stuff, but like, you know, like I consider you my homie, so it's like there's more to you than just that, of course. And
Yeah.
you I feel like we've shown that to each other. And just like being able to like go hang out with homies that you have in the film industry and not talk about film, like that's cool. You know what I mean? But also like, oh, like I know what you're talking about when you talk about gear, like whatever it may be. Like I get it. You know what I'm saying? But you know, um, I don't know if that answered the question so much, but yeah,
No, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it does. I think you bring up a good point about like just kind of setting a healthy boundary with it and just like making sure that like we're kind of, like what you said earlier, like as much as we have passion for it, we forget that like it's a job, and
mm,
we don't want to bring our jobs home to like our partners or
no,
something. You know what I mean? Like that's like
mm,
they're not as enthusiastic about it, and you're also just wanting to like decompress a little bit because you're stressing all day about like, in your case you're stressing about like where the all this gear is gonna go, or like
yeah,
like you're
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about
yeah,
like, oh shit, like I gotta talk to the gaffer about something. I gotta, you
mm,
already have enough on your mind, and I think by being able to just be like, you know what, the work will stay over there for right now. Let's just
mm,
not talk about this. Let's just,
mm,
let's just let me decompress for a second, and I think
yeah,
that's really helpful for you to set that anyway, because uh, the moment we get sort of, because I'm guilty of this myself, like it's really easy to get caught up in it because you're so passionate about it,
mm,
because I
oh
definitely
for
I've
sure,
definitely been down like these rabbit holes of like, gear and just like just generally the work. Sometimes I definitely get caught in it too much sometimes, but I
mm,
think by you saying like, nah, fuck it, I'm just gonna go skate. I'm not gonna think
mm,
about this project right now. I'm just gonna go skate. I'm gonna go do something that's not filmmaking. Like that's
mm.
I think that's a
But
pretty healthy thing to do.
it's crazy too because you always somehow circle back to the film stuff.
Yeah,
Like even if you
yeah,
want to think about it, it's gonna come up.
but it's
Someone, especially,
never. Yeah,
yeah. Go ahead. Now you go
no,
ahead.
it's never like work. It's never like on a project basis. It's always like,
Yeah.
yo, you check out the, like when the Alexa 35 came out. I think there was a couple of us that were talking about it. It's just like, yo, you hear about the Alexa 35? You see that? And I was like, yeah, man, I saw it at Cine Gear. I was there. I was playing with it and stuff, and it. But in that conversation, that's more the passion than it is about like work.
hmm
Like I think those conversations are more healthy to have. But yeah, I think it's good that there's that separation anyway.
There should be. You know what I mean? Because at the same time, like I want to get onto like whatever I'm shooting and just be like completely refreshed and feel like I'm starting something brand new over and over again, other than just like this is the same old thing. You know what I'm saying? So definitely keeping yourself refreshed and wanting to shoot is a great thing. I think at all of us, in this similar kind of career position, we're like, yeah, I'm like, I'll never not be excited to shoot. But sometimes, like, some people will take things for advantage or for granted, and
Definitely.
sometimes you don't have the capacity or the chance to like appreciate what it is you're doing and what your job is. And I think that happens inherently to a lot of people on like different multitudes of things. But I always want to try and like be fresh and like be ready to like shoot whatever and be excited about it. That's the one thing. Like I want to be excited about shooting things. I think that's where a lot of like passion comes from. And like, that's like going back to the, being an AC on the Klika joint, like for that short film about Edgar's, like that alone made me not want to AC anymore because I was like, I want to do that. Like I want to create that. Like that's what I want to do. That's me. That's like what I want for
Yeah.
sure,
Hmm.
without a doubt. I mean, like that's what I want to do. Um, and it didn't make me not want to AC because I was like, oh, this is so hard. But it was like, yo, like this is possible. You know what I mean? This is a thing. This is an opportunity. This is like something that's within my creative reach or whatever. And like I want to be a part of more things like this. At times, I can imagine that maybe like, well, it's like it sort of seems like I'm just going to work again, or like I'm just doing this again.
Yeah.
And like while that is like something that is a reality, sometimes it's like I still want to be able to give my very best and my very best, um I guess, positive outlook towards every project I have, no matter if it's all sort of the same thing or whatever. Like I want to be able to be excited about it and be excited to create something, because it's like it's something that isn't available to a lot of people, like to be able to create, for whatever circumstances. Everyone's different, but
Yeah.
I think given the fact that you and I, like for example, have like opportunities to create and do things, I think that's something that I I will try my best to never take advantage of, like take for granted either. Like even working at a rental house, like I said to myself like out loud the other day, for I was like, you know what? I'm really thankful I have a job here. Like I'm really thankful
Yeah.
I get to just, even though it could be like monotonous sometimes and the same old thing over and over again, it's like, dude, like I'm touching these things, like I'm turning them on and like cleaning them or whatever, like cameras, right? And
Yeah.
lenses and whatnot. And I'm getting familiar with all this crap, and it's like this is great. I'm getting paid to learn. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
You get paid to learn at a rental house, so that's another like reason to go the rental house way. You know, Hopefully somebody's listening and they're like, you know what? Okay, I'll apply to that rental house, and you should, and you
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. It always sucks for me to kind of see people, and I've definitely worked with like camera assistants who are just sort of not enthusiastic about the work, and I get that because it's not like I definitely had that sort of itch to create like when I was ACing, before I started to DP more. I understand that, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
give grace to that. Um, but how can you be so like stubborn, like so angry about the fact that you're doing something that to you is very monotonous? It's like no, like we're in
Yeah.
such a cool industry. Like how could you be so
I,
upset
I,
about that? Like I get
I
it.
see it.
Yeah,
Yeah. I see it on both ends, because it's like I said, like when you don't, when you kind of just are in the same position for a while, like whatever the case may be, right? Everybody's different, but regardless of the fact that once you're in like that position, doing it a lot, because I've met DPs who are like, they're not the nicest people in the room for sure, and like
yeah,
they seem like they don't want to be there, and it's like, damn, bro, like what's up? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
but even to that, it's like it's I don't know. Like either I feel like they're just mad about something, and it's tough because it's like, yeah, like we're doing something cool, and like this is a dope industry, and in such a way like I can kind of get it, because I wasn't always excited about being an AC, but I was never like mean to anybody. I was just kind of like, well, I'm just gonna like not really. You just ask me to get batteries, I'll do it. You want me to swap a card, I'll do it. Whatever. Let's get through the day. You know
yeah,
what I mean? I want to get home when we wrap, and I want to get my invoice in and then see you later.
Yeah.
For the most part,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
especially with the, I mean, I can only speak on the AC stuff because that's what it was for me, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. I think I've always stuck around being around cameras because I love cameras. I adore them. I care for all of them, and I love glass and adore glass and admire glass even more.
Yeah.
And so to me, like, that stuff is always fascinating to me, and like I respect it, and like I admire it, and I'm always grateful to be around it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean,
Yeah, no, gratitude is super important because, even being able to just experiment, being able to go to a production and be like, I want to experiment with this like piece of glass, like I think that could really
yeah,
do something for this thing, like that's always really cool to do. And I think you have more of a gratitude as well just because you have like a previous, background in photography. I don't know how long you were doing
hmm
photography, but because you also shoot analog, you do medium format.
yeah,
That's like even another level of like you appreciate photography for a whole other reason besides just being able to create a world for like a music video or a short film or whatever it is. Like you're able to capture like the still side of things. I never experimented
hmm
with photography too much. I maybe just took photos as like a hobby type thing, but I'm wondering
hmm
what was that? Is there stuff that you sort of apply? Obviously, you have like your exposure settings that you sort of apply to uh,
hmm
cinematography, but in terms of like the creative practice, do you apply that to cinematography in the same way, or is it how does that workflow
um,
differentiate itself?
well, you know what? It taught me a lot for sure. Trying to shoot video versus like what I was used to for the past almost a decade. I picked up a camera,
Insane,
pretty much, and
insane.
that's not even like being like I was never like I published or nothing crazy. I just always loved photos, and I never really cared to like do anything crazy with it. It was just sort of like a hobby to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I guess I kind of always started with photos as like candid stuff. Like I was super into like photojournalism and street portraiture and capturing things as they are, like documenting things. That's kind of what I always thought about my photography approach, other than kind of like having like a photojournalistic approach to it, is just kind of capturing things for what they are. And like, I think that there's a lot of beauty in being rugged with what you do and shooting things like very, I don't know, like contrasty images and whatnot, and things just looking rough and real, and like I like that personally, and that's kind of what I was accustomed to. I never really lit anything, never really did studio stuff, so I was kind of always shooting photography as like a documenting thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, I'm just gonna capture how it is, whatever. And sort of transitioning into video stuff, I kind of just realized like I like there's more to do, I guess, in such a way that I was like, okay, I've been having this idea with cameras and photography for this long, but seeing how you can light stuff, which is something that I was honestly lazy with. Now that I look back at it in my photography career, I was just lazy and I didn't. I was like, nah, like it looks cool. It looks cool when the sun is frying half of someone's face and the other half is a shadow. I was like, wow, contrast, cool.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And I think the biggest thing that I was kind of able to like transition with and that helped a lot was like composition. You know what I mean? Because I love composing images, and I feel like even if I take a photo, there's always someone somewhere for some reason, or there's something, even using rule of thirds, that I want you to look at, that I want to be like the main point of like whatever photo or whatever the heck it is. Um, I feel like that was something that I've kind of always like transitioned easily with into cinematography, and also like camera movements. I think that's just me kind of going back to my roots of like thinking like, oh, things have to be like, or I want things to be like realistic and like feel like I'm there, or like you're like kind of peeking into like someone's life, and obviously like having the shoulder rig type of look, and it kind of gives like that point of view that you're there, that you're submersed into whatever you're watching or like looking at. um I think as far as those things go, and obviously like general exposure, like that definitely helped out a lot, because all my photographer homies that like direct, they have like a lot of like like planned out shoots with their photography. Like everything is no joke. Like everything is like in a studio. Like there's little like a theme or some like a photo shoot. Like it's cool, you know what I mean? And they like take very good care of their lighting, so they like have ideas like that already. A lot of my stuff with photography, like I never really planned shoots. I would just go out downtown LA or like East Los or like Koreatown and just shoot photos of people and like hope that I don't get chased down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just people on the
Yeah.
street, just minding their business. Like I wanted to be like a fly on the wall type of thing.
Yeah.
But so I like there are for sure cinematographers who have started out as photographers, I guess. But sometimes I feel like I've even seen like a lot of DPs like randomly, not randomly, but like they'll just pick up like a film camera once they've already been like a DP for a while, and like I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Like how I guess like I kind of started with that, and you started with video, and then now I'm trying to do video, and you're like just like experimenting with like film photography or whatever. And it's just cool to see how like both have like their similarities, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
one wouldn't be here without the other, and kind of vice versa. Like um I don't know, I realized cinematography is a lot harder though.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, I
will
think
say
I
that.
think I think I think that's sort of the reason that I sort of went backwards, cuz I never
Yeah.
did photography as like just to take photos. It was just sort of like I'm going to mess around with this camera and see if I'm into it. And I wasn't.
Right.
I wasn't really that into it.
Right.
But then more recently, like I'd say in the last maybe year and a half or so, that's when I started
Mhm.
to pick up just like little disposables. I only picked those up
Nice.
just because I wasn't sure how committed I would be to doing film photography. So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna pick up a couple disposables. I'm gonna get them developed. I'm gonna just kind of see what it is. And now it's just sort of become like a part of my kit. And I always like
Hmm.
carry a disposable purely because of the novelty of it, and like what you're saying, how it's just like a little fly on the wall thing, and just like I'm
Hmm.
just gonna be like boop and like take a photo of somebody. I think that
Hmm.
that little novelty aspect of it is something that I enjoy, and because it's something that's separate from the work that I do as a cinematographer, it allows me to sort of have more fun with it.
Hmm.
I'm
No,
obviously
yeah,
I've
definitely.
considered I've considered more recently to get into like a proper film system, like some I don't know what that looks like, but excuse me. For now, I
Like a
think
film photo,
yeah,
like film camera.
like some flavor of film camera. I don't know if I could do medium format. Like I have a homie with a
You could borrow my RV67, bro. You want to play around with? It's not that hard. It's just uh you just you can't see what you're shooting. So
right, but I'll probably meter for it, and it'll be okay. But yeah, I do want to get into analog photography, just to have with work, and just treating it still as like a novelty. I think is something I definitely appreciate still.
I think it's just something I just like to do for funsies, especially if I'm ever out with like the homies or whatever. Like, just like, hey, stand there real quick. Let me take a picture of you. Like, it's not something I'm like, I guess, like super attached to. This is definitely like a hobby, especially with shooting just film. It's an expensive hobby that I can't always afford. So unfortunately, I'm not always able to just like shoot as much as I would want to sometimes, which sucks. But it is what it is. It's a nice little novelty thing I like to like do for myself, like a little treat, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, a nice little treat.
But
Yeah,
a nice little treat, yeah. So I like looking at it that way, and eventually, of course, I would love to like shoot. Like if someone hits me up to shoot for like their brand or whatever, like yeah, like I'll shoot it for sure. Um, I had someone ask me if I like shoot weddings, and I was like no, but I'll walk around with my film camera and just take like candid photos of people, I guess, because I don't know how to like shoot a wedding,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So I'm just being honest, like, hey, like I'll just shoot candid photos of stuff going on, and it'll be cool. It'll be very memorable, and I feel like, especially shooting on on film, like 35 millimeter film, you kind of have this like, it feels more personal. It feels more like intimate. It feels like kind of like a home movie type of thing. Like someone was there just capturing what was going on, like documenting and
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean. And it's like it's more to me. I don't know how like film camera bro sounds this sounds, but you know, you're very immersed in the moment with these photos sometimes,
Yeah.
and you know, definitely adds to that. And I definitely see why people say that because that's how I felt for the past decade shooting film or whatever. Um, and so you know, it's it's definitely a nice little treat, I would say,
Yeah, no,
when I can
definitely.
afford it. Hmm.
So since you've had the chance to shoot photography on film, is the immediate
Yeah,
next step like what is like the next step in terms of like you as a cinematographer? Are you wanting
you know what it is.
to shoot on film? Are you wanting to yeah like
Of
what
course, man.
yeah
Dude, I just want to shoot on film. I
yeah
just want to shoot. I just want to be able to go to Panavision, give me a camera, give me some of your lenses to shoot 35 millimeter. That's
yeah
all I want to do. That's my goal, and just to be able to do that as consistently as possible, and like have that be my only medium. Really, like I would. That's the goal, right? That's the dream.
yeah
Whatever, you know. Um, so that's what I want to do, which is why I want to shoot on Aries so much, you know, because of just how how beautifully they're able to make it look very reminiscent of film.
yeah no
And
definitely
that's kind of like, you know what I mean? That's kind of the approach that I'm going for, the look that I'm trying to achieve and whatnot. And sure, you know, like a camera is just a camera at the end of the day, but goddamn, is
yeah
that the goal for sure? For sure,
yeah
for sure.
no I get it.
You know?
I mean it's definitely something I've considered
Mm-hmm.
experimenting with more recently as well as just sort of just shooting on proper like at least 16 millimeter. I think I could
Mm-hmm.
um, I want to kind of experiment more in that area just because I've done a few I've done a few music videos where we had sort of secondary footage as Super 8 and I had a really
Mm-hmm.
fun time with it. So now I'm wondering like what could artistically could you do with shooting a project on either 16 millimeter and I think maybe eventually 35 millimeter, but I think my main focus for now is just maybe experimenting with 16 millimeter. But so yeah, next steps for you is shooting analog. It looks like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have something maybe in the works in the next 2 months that hopefully will be shot on 16 millimeter. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, trying to manifest. So I'll definitely be nervous for that one. I'm not gonna lie. I know I said I didn't get nervous about stuff, but I lied. I only get nervous about film stuff. I've loaded once before, and that was a nightmare. Not I
yeah,
did it. I just didn't mess up, but it was an anxious nightmare. I'll
yeah,
tell you, I couldn't sleep, and it was an overnight job, or not overnight, but it was like a travel job, and I covered for someone, and I loaded, and I was like, man, I was going through it, bro. They left me alone in a cabin to like preload footage for the next day and offload and whatnot, and I was, whoo,
yeah,
oh, I don't think I've been like I've never questioned what I'm doing, and that's when I realized I was like, I don't want to be a loader. Like I respect this position so much, but it is not for me. It is not for me, and I know like it's not the
yeah,
hardest once you get like once you understand how film works and how to load and how to do it properly, and you do it many times. But that's when I realized I was like, dude, I don't know enough about this stuff. Like, I want to learn, you know, so I could like load my own stuff and not be scared about it or whatever.
yeah.
But I think just because it was like someone else's project, I was like nervous about it. Thankfully, all the rush scans came back perfect,
Nice.
so I was very relieved to hear that.
You
And
didn't mess up
you know,
anything. You
I
weren't
didn't mess up
fired.
anything, man. No, no, I was not fired or anything. Did a good job. Did a good job. And I'm proud of that.
Yeah,
Will I do it again? No, no, I would not be a loader again. It's too much stress. I respect them. You know, good for you guys. You guys like living with that. Stress, man, great. I
Yeah.
can't do that. I respect it a bunch, and if I ever need a loader, I'll definitely be looking for someone who is confident in that. Which I do need one actually. Now I think about it. But anyways, um, but anyways,
Yeah.
uh,
So that's
yeah. I
like
mean,
that's sort of what's on the horizon. You know, what else are you trying to what are next steps in terms of your career? Because I know there's obviously wanting to shoot more on film, but what else does that look like? What is the future of like what's coming up? You know?
well, I'm probably gonna shoot my first uh short film with dialogue and stuff uh in the next 2 3 months. Gonna start pre-production for that hopefully in a month or so and start location scouting or whatnot. So I'm very excited for that. And of course, I want to do narratives a lot, probably more so than music videos. I really do enjoy doing music videos because I love music, obviously. And I feel like ever since a kid, I've really liked music videos. I've kind of always been able to like picture them. And definitely helps with the pace of what you want to do and how you want to shoot and capture things. So I'm always appreciative about that. But definitely, I'm trying to get on more like narrative pieces. Like definitely trying to do more stuff with like fashion and like do a little like campaign stuff here and there. Hopefully. Um, and just kind of just get my brain working a little bit more on like uh creative ideas and executing them, and meeting more people who like make dope stuff. And like I would look forward to working with more Latino filmmakers. Whatever country or background you come from, like if you're Latino, like I'd love to work with you. You know what I mean? And kind of just expanding that sort of community, and hopefully like you know, um, introducing folks to one another, and like meeting people and whatnot that have the same ambition and same like sort of background, and we can relate on those sort of things. I think definitely changing I can't change the world, but I think that's kind of what excites me and like motivates me to keep going, is to be at some point be able to like pay it forward one day, and like help out people, help people get jobs and whatnot. That's kind of what I'm trying to do overall. But as far as stuff coming up, I mean, basically just kind of those couple things. And, you know, after that, we'll see. Sometimes things pop up last minute, which is always fun and usually has been the case for the past couple like month or two,
Yeah.
which, those are fun too. Um, but I would love to just keep working and meeting people, and even then working with the same group of guys and people and whatever. Like that's kind of what I'm trying to accomplish in some respects.
All right. That concludes today's episode of the ALG show. Um, Terrible. What a tragedy. That was not what I wanted to do. I always love having chats with Salvador just generally about gear or just about recent lenses that we've picked up on and sort of seen via social media or just our own experimentation. And it's always a guilty pleasure to have these sorts of conversations with him, especially someone who works at a rental house and actively experiences different lenses that maybe I want to try and I want to consider. And it's cool to have that sort of dialogue with him. I definitely always enjoy our conversations whenever we get together. Go check out Salvador's links in the description if you haven't already. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.